Pacific Oaks College is located in an urban setting in the city of Pasadena in Los Angeles County. Much like the Southern California region, Pasadena residents are racially, ethnically, and economically diverse. In 2019, Dr. Jack Pedunton was named president of Pacific Oaks College. He developed a committee to research the feasibility of meeting the eligibility requirement and apply to the Department of Education for a Hispanic Serving Institution grant. Pacific Oaks College applied with a 48.7% of its total undergraduate student population as Latinx above the 25% eligibility requirement. In October 2020, Pacific Oaks was awarded a U.S. Department of Education Title V grant, providing a $2.5 million across 5 years. These funds allowed us to implement a wide range of services to academically support our students' retention to graduation and thrive during their college experience. Students benefit from a dedicated undergraduate success center with a lending library of books and laptops, complimentary bilingual tutoring service, academic advising, a speakers series to share the backstory and successes based on a foundation of higher education of Latinx. This podcast series is part of our HSI Grants educational outreach to raise awareness of the value and importance of higher education degree attainment within the Latino community. The podcast will provide you with information on how to begin your college dream. You'll learn about financial aid in completing the FOFSA, aligning your interest with a college degree program, the application process, and what campus resources are available to you. We will share motivating stories from local Latinos who have overcome challenges and earned their college degree as the foundation for their success. You will also hear from faculty and alumni who are there to support you as a student to strive and excel, becoming self-sufficient and successful.
Welcome to Pacific Oaks College Hispanic Serving Institution Podcast. Tu sueño, tu realidad.
In an illuminating conversation with Pacific Oaks alumni, Dr. Hughes-Hunter, Sneha Gandhi White, and Amber Wright shared their journey through mentorship and their top recommendations for mentors and mentees to gain fulfillment in their roles together. In the episode of Mentorship, we had the pleasure of having multiple voices share their experience with mentorship across many levels. We each shared our insight as mentors first, but also as mentees and the needs of both throughout the experience. This is a very impactful topic because in today's society young people are not taught the importance of having a mentor. No matter who you are, and what phase of life you are in, you deserve to have a guide who will nurture, support an academic journey, to success in your professional career, to add value to the community around you, and your personal accomplishments.
Dr. Alana, you are executive director at SELPA, which is a special education local plan area. Can you also talk about what mentor and mentorship means, not only for the person that's conducting the mentor, but for the mentee as well?
So thank you. I've served in both capacities as a mentor and as a mentee as well. And I can tell you from my perspective, a mentor is someone that coaches and listens, and a mentee is someone who reflects often, but also listens. It is the job of the mentor to determine, and I'll capitalize on the previous person who spoke and share with you that if you tell me your dream is to be an actress, then I'm going to outline that plan for you to become an actress, and I'm going to coach you into that role. My job is not to coach you into who I want you to be. And I think many times with a mentor, we take on the role of trying to build someone up to be a Xerox copy of ourselves as opposed to being their better selves for the betterment of that individual. So to me, I take my role as a mentor very seriously. And I can recall vividly when I was in Pacific Oaks program, there was many people along the way. And although not given the official title of being my mentor, I can tell you that I attribute my success and my walk and my journey to their support along the way.
So it's not to make me an actress, but it's to guide me through the process.
Yes.
I think, that's something that we don't understand. When you say to someone, don't you have a mentor? I don't think that the definition is there. And I really appreciate what you're saying. It's not for you to make me that actress, if you will, but it's to guide me to a process of my own self-discovery of what I can do.
Because think about it, how many times have people began their journey or began college wanting to be one thing, and then they change their major or their minor, right? So you have no idea what they're going to actually determine they want to be. And I remember when I think I was a teacher and I was going into administration, and I told my mentor at the time, I said, "Oh my gosh, they came up with this term at will." I said, "They're going to fire me when they get ready to fire me." And she says, "No." She says, "Because you're going to be the best administrator that you can be. So they'll think about firing you." So sometimes it's just those words of encouragement along the way that I think are very important. Um, I also work as an adjunct faculty for UMass University, and I'm a cohort mentor. And, my job is to coach. And I tell them, if you see me in any different light, then I have failed you. I'm here to coach you and to support you, and you should be able to talk to me about anything. So I do take that role as a mentor. Very important. It's a very important role, but I think the mentee has a very important role as well to self-reflect on how they're being guided.
If I want to ask to you guys, what's the difference then between mentoring and teaching? Are they related? Are they any different? It's what's it's a mentor, a teacher.
I think the difference in being a mentor and a teacher, right? As a teacher, when you're in the classroom, you're dealing with a number of different personalities, and it is your job to give them assignments and grade them and, of course, encourage them as well. So there's a little bit of mentorship there as well. But for the most part, when you're working in a classroom setting, there are different expectations of the teacher, right? In the teacher to student relationship. However, when you are a coach and a mentor, you are, as those who've gone before me have said, your job is to be a guide, to help your clients reach the goals of their dreams, and that's meeting them where they're at. And though you can do that as a teacher, there are certain milestones that you have to make sure that your students meet. However, as a mentor and a coach, your students, or rather your clients, can take a few wrong right turns, or right wrong turns, however you want to think about it, and they can still reach their goals because there is no deadline. It's really up to them to tell you, hey, this is what I need today. And it's up to you to meet them right there. Because when you start to put that pressure on yourself or on your client to say, you need to be at XYZ by this point, sometimes that can be met with almost a frustration of, no, wait a minute, I'm just not there yet. And when you're in that mentorship and mentee relationship, you have more wiggle room to kind of play with that and say, we do have more time to play. We can give it a little bit more time. Do we need to press pause? Do we need to give you more time, as was said previously, to reflect and consider what was said in our previous meeting? And really just let that resonate for a little bit. And I think that's really the beauty of being a mentor, is to, without utilizing grades and mandatory curriculum, you have the freedom to really coach your clients to be the very best version of themselves in a way that makes them wake up in the morning, look at themselves in the mirror and say, this is who I am, and I'm loving each and every moment of it. And that's the goal of a mentor, is to make sure that you can do that for your clients. And not to say that we as teachers don't try to do that for our students as well, but it comes with a different set of tools, right? It's a different toolbox that you need to have access to. However, as a mentor, you have more of a fluidity when you're working with your clients. And I think, I don't know if my colleagues want to chime in here, but I think they might agree that as a mentor, you can kind of mold the curriculum as you will in a way that you feel most comfortable with. And you don't have anyone telling you, hey, pull this out, pull that out, because it's really about your bond with your mentee because you know them best.
Sneha, that's very powerful. Thank you.
Now, so what I getting is also there's a personal relationship that is gonna start developing between the mentor and the mentee, right? It can be difficult too because sometimes there's different ways to understand this process. So how to deal with that?
I think the terms can be used interchangeably, but I also think that I'd have to concur with what she previously shared, because you're more vulnerable when you're talking to your coach or your mentor. And I don't think that you expose yourself or you allow someone to help you when you're the teacher. It just depends on how comfortable you are with that individual. But you do develop a relationship as a mentee and a mentor that helps you build and become your better self that you may not be able to do in the capacity of a teacher, but you often will hear those two, um, I'm going to say, roles used interchangeably. In some aspects, are you a teacher? Yes, but in the true form of what you're actually doing, I think a coach and a mentor, I have a more vested interest when I was a mentee into my coach and my mentor than I did in my teachers.
Yeah.
I am just, and I'll use the phrase blown away from the perspective of I thought a mentor was that they were going to provide me with a roadmap of saying you got to do step one. Then when you do one, you do two, and come and check in with me. Then do three, then do four, etc. Right? But what we're saying here is more of that mentee being coached to a self awareness.
It's not formal
Right.
as Sneha and Alana both stated in terms of, okay, it follows this exact process and this format, but it's something that takes place just more organically in response to what the mentee may need at that particular time. Does that sound about right?
I think so, Amber, and I think that's what allows it to conform to that individual's needs. So if I have some individual needs and it's not no roadmap, as Dr. Castro was saying, so step one, step two, step three, but rather this is Amber. This is what Amber needs. And Amber is in control of this journey. I'm just here to support her in that path. Then I get to conform to you and your needs. If I have some preconceived notions as to what your needs are, then I'm not really beneficial to you.
That's a great point because in this case the different what I understand because I'm here the outsider, right? so the mentor will kind of like step outside of their own belief or their own conception of what the issue is, and just to listen to the students and adapt, for what he's gonna or she's gonna need. Right? Am I right with that?
Listening is a precious gift for the mentor and for the mentee. You must be able to listen and you must be able to self-reflect.
Now, so what have you seen that makes students hesitate about finding a mentor? Why students don't want to go to a mentor? Do you guys run into any of that situation?
To me, it'd be the same as a student that doesn't want to raise their hand because they need help in the classroom, right? Because they don't want to expose that vulnerability that they don't know, that uncertainty, right? But you learn as you expose yourself and you say, I don't know, I need help.
Also be the process of how do I ask? How do I approach this person? What do I say? What does that mentorship role and mentee role look like? So that in my cases, even just in college and undergrad, that was a huge point of apprehension for me. Just, okay, well, how do we do this? How do we go about that? And even now, just having colleagues and peers in executive and leadership roles, they have some of those same apprehensions where they do make the ask, but then they're apprehensive in terms of, well, what does that look like? It's a little bit of a gray area there. So,
I was going to say this is why we have to make it more normal, and by we I mean in a universal we. Just to say that there's nothing wrong with a collaboration or having a wonderful conversation with someone who you might be able to glean some insight from, and I think that's something that we need to teach um, our youth just by example. And I think that's by showing them that we too are humble enough to, as was said previously, to make ourselves vulnerable, to have that conversation with our peers and just say, I'm going through this right now and I'm just struggling, or I just need a little bit of insight from you and I would love to know your thoughts. I would love to hear that. And I think it's something that our youth definitely need to hear because to them, when they see their teachers or, their professors or their mentors, wherever they are in the educational system, they sometimes don't realize that they are human. They think of them as just the ones who know how to do it all because they've been there, and that's just not true. We don't have all the answers. We only have the answers to these problems that we have solved, right? That we have experience with, and our experience across the board varies. So we need to make that a little bit more transparent. And Amber, as you mentioned, you just didn't know how to do it because you didn't see it happen a lot. So we need to make it a little bit more normal. We need to say, hey, come and talk to me, or build those relationships with our students, or even as mentors, just be the ones who are not shy to reach out and just let our students or our clients know, both groups, and just say, I'm here. I am here for a conversation. I'm here if you need me. And if I can't help you, one thing that I always tell my clients is that if I cannot personally help you with a problem that you're working with or anything that you might need some insight on, I'm happy to tap into my network for you. I'm happy to connect you with someone else because, again, I do not have all the answers, but I can definitely act as a guide, act as a connector. And that's something that we should all be more humble enough to do. And I think our students would be very grateful to see that, because it's something that I utilize in my own work as a supervisor with my mentees is when they're struggling with things. Sometimes I say things and they appreciate it, but they need to hear it from others as well. So I point them in the direction of others in my network, and the light bulb goes off. And that's a fantastic and beautiful thing. And that's my role in their life, is to help them lead that life of success, right? It doesn't all have to come from me. It can come from my channel. It can come from my networks. And that's the beauty of being in a very connected society. But again, we need to go about making it a little bit more normal and a little bit less of a novel thing and something that's only for those that have the connections. Absolutely not. I think that's just a narrative that we need to change.
And I totally agree with you, because sometimes it seems as it's an exclusive group, right? So you have a mentor, and if you're part of that, it's an exclusive group, and so it's not readily available. And whether your counselor, your advisors sort of say, well, don't you have a mentor? It is an exclusive group. So bringing it much more available, uh, transparent to the students as to the value add, right? I think that would work a little bit more,
Absolutely.
because there's an apprehension.
And I think each of you are touching on such just amazing components, especially as it relates to the PO values of diversity, equity, inclusion, and social justice. And I know that we just took a moment and we just jumped right in here, but I'm curious to know, and I'm sure our listeners are curious to know, what were some of your experiences here at PO? How did you use your degree? Sneha, I believe you were HD. And Alana, you seem to have a lot of the educational aspect within some of your interactions and experience with being a mentor. So how did your degree programs help take form and inspire and influence your journey to mentorship?
I will tell you that probably one of the best classes that I had, hands down, at PO was conflict resolution. And what I learned in that class, and I still utilize it today, is the win-win concept, number one. And then number two, which I think has guided me throughout my life um, thus far, is me being able to self-advocate for myself. And being a person of color, that self-advocacy for me, there's a thin line for me. So I need to know when to stand and when to stand down. And in my role, because I want what I'm saying to be received, I have to be very careful how I do that advocacy. And as a mentor, there's always someone watching. In my role, there's always someone watching. How is it that I advocate for myself? And am I modeling the right behavior for the next person? That's the mentor's side of it. As a mentee, is this something that I agree with or I don't agree? I'm very independent and I follow no one but God. So that's what PO gave to me. PO gave me a voice that I probably did not have before I joined PO, and I have a very constructive voice, which means that when I speak from the heart, and I speak about what means something to me, and I know how to self-advocate for myself. Those that need mentors need to know how to speak up and say, I need help. Because if you don't know, you stay in isolation. You have to know when you need help. You need to know how to network. Networking is very important, because there's others out there in your field that probably have went through what you went through. And when they say don't reinvent the wheel, that's what they mean by that. You have to know when you need help, speak, interact, build on your interpersonal skills, whether it be here at the college or university or out in regular life. When I go into Starbucks, hi, how are you? I'm very interpersonal with people. Why? Because I want the same in return. So I will tell you that to address your question, what I learned from Pacific Oaks is to self-advocate for myself, and it has built upon my interpersonal skills and my ability to network with others.
So I'm hearing two things here from you. I'm hearing the advocacy component, but I also hear that finding your voice, your inner voice,
Yes,
was a huge part of your journey, not only throughout PO, but your journey just through mentorship as well. Would that be spot on for you?
It'd be spot on.
I appreciate what you just said. But for the audience, I want to sort of pose something different, because the two of you sound amazing women who have an amazing background and who have gone through a process of self-awareness and reflection through Pacific Oaks philosophy, which is amazing.
So I'll give you a little nugget. Back in 2017, when I was given my new role as a SELPA director, they give each one of us a mentor. And the first mentor that they gave me, she didn't call me. She didn't connect with me. She didn't check in on me. It just was a name only. You're my mentor. I'm your mentee. And so after a couple of months, I said, what really is her role? What is she supposed to be doing with me? And so they frowned upon it, but I said, I'd like a new mentor. I need someone who's going to check in with me, guide me. And because it was a new position, I had no idea what was expected of me. She had done the position for years, but in her mind, she didn't we're not on the same, we didn't have the same understanding or definition of a mentor. So I think you should find someone that you have some commonalities with, or someone who understands you. That might take you interviewing that person, speaking with that person, sitting with that person. Because I can tell you, I can sit with a person maybe once, twice at the most, and I can tell you if you're somebody I'm going to be comfortable talking to on a regular basis. I need to be comfortable to be able to divulge information to you so that you're not a threat to me. You can't be a threat. You can't be intimidating. You have to be someone where I'm ready to empty my cup. So I have a lot going on right now. I need to be able to come empty my cup. Your cup is empty. So it's not about you. It's about me. So you have to be willing to take in that information, be non-judgmental. And when they talk to me, my mentees, I will say to them, are you wanting me just to listen? Are you asking for me to give you some advice? Which one? Because I know for me, my mind is moving at times, and I'm not willing to hear what you have to say sometimes. I'm stubborn in that way. I want you just to hear. I want to be able to vent in a safe space. And I think you need to find someone that you feel comfortable having those kind of conversations and that dialogue with. And, you might even look at, what they're doing that's very similar to what you're doing. So if they align to you and your goals, maybe have some questions that you might want to ask, and, they answer favorably, then maybe that's the person that you need to be having as your mentor. But like in the organization that I joined, they just randomly gave me someone. And like after a couple months, no bueno. I've had some directors under me, and I said, you don't have to be Alana.
Yeah.
If we end up with in the same space, and we've both completed the same task, successfully completed the same goal, you don't have to do it my way. You just have to do it. So there's a path to get there. As long as I teach you the path to get there, put your brand on it. What does it look like when you do it? And that's the way because I can be brute. at times. And I can be intimidating at times. And those are not characteristics that I'm proud of. But I also can be soft on the edges, and I also can be nurturing. And those are the kind of skills that I exemplify when I'm talking to um, my mentees, because I do want them to learn from me. I'm not successful at what I'm doing unless you become successful at whatever the task was as to what you came to me for. So that's important to remember. I invest a lot of time in watching you succeed in whatever it is that you want to do.
So it sounds like it's important for the mentee to understand what they want going in, be clear about their goals, and also explore what commonality there is or common ground there is between the mentor and the mentee. And then from a mentor standpoint, rather, it sounds as though it's important for the mentor to understand what their role is to the mentor instead of trying to drive the ship, so to speak,
Right.
to kind of sit in the passenger side a little bit.
Just one exception, though. I think sometimes you may be put in a role to help them develop those goals. Because before I went to college, I didn't know I wanted to go. There was someone that came and said, what is it that you want to do? She had to coach me into what is it that I wanted out of life? What did I want to do? And I came into PO as a paraprofessional and walked that as a teacher. It was my mentor that got me through that.
So what you're saying is that we eventually will need different mentors depending on the stage of our lives that we are in, right?
I would agree.
Something that I can also take away of this conversation, this discussion, is that I feel that the mentor will help you find yourself.
Yes. No, I would absolutely agree with that. I would absolutely agree with that statement.
And I appreciate also the fact that the mentor has something in stake. Because you said, Alon, my success as a mentee is your success as a mentor, and vice versa, I guess. So it's not just one way.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that. And I think that our listeners would, that you are both in this, you're both committed to the success of each other.
That's just for the investors, right?
Yeah.
Well, this is very great discussion. I firmly believe that we all need someone to talk. We'll need someone to look up to. We'll need always someone to help, right? Is there anything that you can tell to the person that's listening right now, this podcast, and it's in the middle of their life, figuring out their education and whatever they're going to do? What can you tell them?
Absolutely. I would say that it's really important for everyone who's listening right now to identify what they want their life to look like. And I want them to close their eyes and to consider, what's my dream right now in this moment? Okay. Now that that's been identified, how do I need to get there? And maybe who do I need to talk to? Is there something that I've been sitting on doing for a very long time because of that fear of failure, right? That we mentioned briefly earlier in the discussion. Get rid of that fear. Go for it. Take a chance, because you never know what it will amount to. And if you continue to allow it to sit there as an idea that could be, it will never be. So I want you all to consider icing out all of the naysayers that have told you what they would rather that you do, that say that they know you better. And I want you to take a chance on you. I want you to take a chance on you to make a difference in your life, pursue that dream, and try making it happen. And if you have a few detours, that's fine. That's the beauty of life. But just start the process, because you never know what you will find. And I want you to be open about reflecting. I want you to be open about what you might find on your journey and who you might find. And by who, I mean others, but I also mean yourself. And I want you to be open to the person that you end up waking up to every single day, because you just might love that person just a little bit more. And you just might be meant to be with that human being. And that's the beauty of this life. It's one life, one body, one mind, and you deserve to live it in happiness. So just go for it and try.
I guess I would piggyback on that and tell you that if you are there and you're sitting and listening as a mentee or someone that thinks you might need a mentor, it is your job to invest in yourself and be your own personal best. And you can only be your personal best by striving at it and developing short and long term goals, reflecting very often, and always looking in the mirror and not being afraid of what you see. And sometimes if you set out to be an engineer and you end up being a fireman instead, it's okay. Just be the best fireman that you can be. It's not failure. It's not failure. And as long as you continue to invest in yourself and you strive to be your personal best, then you'll be fine. It's always going to be different people along the way that's going to give you encouraging words, but then there'll be those along the ways that won't be so encouraging. And you have to know who those people are. I always tell people that if you call me in the morning and I know you're a negative source of energy, I look at the phone and I keep doing what I'm doing. Emergency or not, because my kids, my staff, they deserve an empty cup when I come to work, not baggage. And if you're listening in and you are a mentor, please take your role very seriously, because you never know what life you can change, what family unit, what organization you can change. Take it very seriously. Help that person develop goals. Listen. Do not be judgmental in your mentorship. And I think we all can succeed together if we continue to network and build a better community and world for all.
I personally, and I will say this, and my gosh, and I'm being very transparent here in this podcast, but I think this is what the purpose of this is, to have a conversation and to be real and to be truthful. And I take the words that you said, that both of you have said in so many words, to start the process, because you do not know what you will find, but what you will find is the beauty of you. And I appreciate that, because there is so much that we know individually we can offer. And now if somebody were to ask me if I could be their mentor, I would be honored, but I would also understand the commitment, because we do have a responsibility, which is what we're saying, and be accountable for that individual's or that mentee's journey, for them to find themselves. So thank you.
I'm just completely speechless. And this is more than what I ever anticipated. Just there's always just such fruitful conversations and so many nuggets, as Alana captured earlier, that just come out from our alumni. So to be able to bring this to so many students who are first generation, who haven't been to college in 10 years, returning back to school, returning in the workforce, and don't know where to start, where to begin in their journey back into the workforce again. So to be able to have these conversations, and both of you just being so generous with your time, it means so much. It means so much, and we are just incredibly grateful. So thank you for just sharing your nuggets with us and your treasure with us in terms of your time. We are so moved and inspired.
I did just want to say one more thing, and I thank Dr. Castro and also you, Mrs. Knight. I don't know if it's Miss or Mrs. Knight, but I'll tell you that my mentor believed in me. So I had mentors that believed in me when I didn't believe in myself.
Yes.
So.
That's a great quote to finalize this conversation, because we need someone on the corner, right? Even when we are not in our own corner, right? So thank you so much. I'm speechless as well. I learned so much today. I just want to keep drinking my coffee to keep listening everything that you share with the audience, with someone that I know right now is listening to this podcast, and maybe you changed their life as we speak right now. And I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for this medium, the channel, to bring this positive encouragement words to people that really need it. And also to kind of like shed a light about what mentorship is, right? To understand better the role. And if you're a mentor, just to learn better and to act better. So thank you 1,000 times. Thank you so much. And I hope you have fun, right? Did you?
I did it.
And also, I just wanted to add, all we need to do is ask.